like, share, subscribe.
Hi, David Odell with Odell Complete Concrete. This is part 3 of a complete remodel around this entire house. Part 1, we showed the demo all the way around the house. Part 2, we showed some vinyl fencing. Now we're on part 3, which we're going to focus on the side yard concrete and all the drain system for the side yards, as well as the drains for the back patio area, which will get pavers. Well, we're going to show the actual pour in this one. On the 2 side yards are getting concrete, backyards getting pavers, driveways getting stamped concrete. So there's a lot of different aspects to this job site.
Oh my god. Man, I really hope it don't start raining. You guys hear that? Oh man. Random thunderstorm coming in, but we're gonna try to get these drains in either way. Now I just gotta find the center in this area right here.
Here's the drain line. They're just gonna locate that drain line right down the center of this because that's where the drain's gonna pop up. So you can just slap 10-foot sections, put T's for your uprights, and then cut to length on the height of your area drains.
Man, you got to dig this drain out quick.
You have to dig faster, dude. Too fast, dude.
You can tell he's got experience doing this.
I'll tell you what.
Basically, they're just centering these drains in between the house and fence. Then they're going to probably put high points in between each drain.
All right, drain has been all the way breached to the street. We're gonna start backfilling it. One of the guys actually left today before we even really began working. All the drains are in. We got 5 drains in total in the side yard. We're running all the way down, all centered up and lined up.
So they just dug underneath the sidewalk. That's the city sidewalk there. Then they're going to core through the curb face so the water will drain out into the gutter on the street. Now here's the drain set up for the backyard within the paver area. Also, there's going to be a patio cover going up here as well. So as they're dropping the pipe in, they're dropping a level on top of it. Make sure that it's sloping in the right direction. Because if it isn't, then it means you have to dig more dirt out.
What are you doing over here?
Okay, so we're just getting our drains established right now. We know our established grade height is the red chalk line on the house. Now from that point, I had to transfer that grade over to the drains, which I already did. Now I have that red chalk basically on my drains there and over there. Next, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be trying to do some calculations. And this is a great tip for people that don't really know how to find your slope percentage. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go, I know in this little box area right here, I am about 7 feet from the corner, or from the edge, and then about 10.5 from the corners. So the corners are always your furthest points. So I like to go off that math. But you gotta consider your shorter runs as well, because the more depth you go down, the heavier slope you're gonna have, which is closer to the drains on the edge. So let me just get right into this and show you guys. So if we want to do about 2 inches of slope for about 10.5 feet, what you got to do is you got to divide the 2 inches into 1 foot. So 2 divided by 12, and that'll convert you to feet. 0.11666, right? Next, what you got to do is, so it's the formula is rise over run times 100. So I have my slope, which is my fall technically because I'm falling towards the drain, but the formula is really just rise over run. So we have rise. Now let's do the run, which is divided by 10.5. And remember, that's the furthest point right over there, the corner to my drain. So now we just put equal. Now it's 0.015. Now we have to convert that. So you times that by 100 to get a percent. And there you go, 1.58% slope. So I'm happy with that, because if I go any heavier than that, look, check this out. Because my closest point to the drains is only, it's about 7 feet off the edge right there where Jimmy's pointing. Now, I'm gonna do the same math calculations for the 2-inch fall, but in a closer span. So here it is again, 0.1666 divided by 7 equals, times that by 100, 2.38%. Now you can tell that's a lot. That's an extra, almost an extra whole percent slope. And if I was to go any heavier, I would get better slope towards the corners, but a lot heavier fall on the edges. And I want to keep my slope pretty gradual. I don't want to have a massive slope towards the drains. I want to keep it pretty relatively flat. So I'm happy with 2 inches for our slope to these drains. So what I'm going to do now, come with me. Already marked out my height. This is the established grade off the house. Now we have to go down 2 inches below that. So let me just make sure that that is correct. Yeah, so that's my benchmark. Now I'm gonna go down 2 inches. So that's exactly where my drain will be sitting. Then we're gonna go do it for the other drain over there. But we have to get our run from the corners established and figure out how far the span is, and then figure out how much slope we want from there. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Leave a comment, let me know if you guys like these kind of tips and tricks.
That's a nice technique. If you got all 4 corners of the outside perimeter of that area level, then that's the way you'd want to do it. Another way you could do it is not center your drains and move it to one side or the other and just lift the other end up. That'll save you some dirt moving. The air conditioner's been removed. It was sitting right here on the side of the house. But this is the cleanest way to do this, is to have the AC moved out, then bring it back in and set it on all new concrete. There's a little sidewalk coming out here beyond the front of the house down to the city sidewalk. The reason for that is because on this side of the house, that's where the trash cans are going to go. So now you have a nice pathway to roll your cans out to the street, rather than having to go over the lawn or whatever you might have in the front yard. In this case, it's going to be Marathon 2 sod eventually, which we'll show in another part to this series. Now, in setting the height to these drains, it's pretty simple. You'll probably want to be about 3/4 to 1 inch below both elevations on the wall and the form.
Alright, we're gonna go through the side yard right now, mark up all the drains. Basically what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get a 2x4 from this 2x4, since I know that is the correct height, bring it over to this side, mark it, because I forgot which mark is the right mark. So we're just gonna do like that, mark it, go down to that corner of the house, transfer the level over from the 2x4, mark it, and we'll snap a chalk line. And then what we're gonna do is just from the chalk line and 2x4s, measure over on our drains, get about 1% slope. That'll be it.
So that little concrete you see on the left on the side of the house, that's your crawl space access. So this house is sitting on a raised foundation, a stem wall, basically with 18-inch crawl space underneath it. This material, this base is just ground concrete and asphalt. You put it in there dry. In this particular case, it goes in dry. Saturate it, let it soak for a few minutes, and then compact. The rebar they're using is a 3/8, which is number 3 rebar, and they're putting it at 2-foot centers in both directions.
You're pretty quick at this, huh?
I beat Jimmy last time.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
why don't you tie them and then twist them?
Oh, because we're gonna do them all at once.
Oh, that's an interesting technique. Haven't seen someone do like that before.
You notice how he keeps bending them down? Because if you don't, when you pull the rebar up, those little wires are going to be sticking up through the concrete, so you have to bend them down.
I really just want to get the side yard set up today and possibly just grade out the driveway. And tomorrow we'll do the rebar for the driveway. Alright, so we just got the side yard all prepped out for the concrete pour, which is going to be in 2 days. We're going to be putting this 3/4 inch foam around the gas line, just in case in the future, if the concrete was ever needed to be replaced, they won't have to struggle like we did and worry about breaking this gas line. So we're gonna put this around, and not only is this good for if you ever have to break it out, but if there's ever any earthquakes, this gas line won't shear off due to the movement. Yeah, so we're just gonna be pouring out the side yards. Should be, I think, pretty easy today, not too bad.
Yeah.
Just got these 2 sides, but this one's got all drains, so we just gotta make sure we get perfect slope to these drains. Oh, but there is one little step back here we are gonna pour too. And I need you to keep checking GoPros, keep getting that close-up footage with your phone as much as you can. Airdrop me everything later today. Don't trip over string lines.
No, that's not gonna stop. That's not gonna stop. That's just a constant. String lines are always
Shane,
good.
your main goal today is gonna be picking up rebar, okay?
He says no, I tamper. He says no. My main goal is tamper.
Yeah, you. I want you to pick
my
up.
coffee.
I want you to just pick up rebar today. Pull the hose. Yep, exactly.
All right, here's the concrete going in. 3/8 inch minus. Leave. This is a 3,000 psi. And as they pour out, they'll just be raising the rebar as they go. Because it's at 2-foot centers, that means you can step in between the bars pretty easily without pushing it back down. Now, if it was at 1-foot centers, it'd be difficult to get your foot in between each bar. But when they're at 2 foot, it's pretty easy. The thing about the reason you don't use dobies in these situations, there's quite a few reasons actually, but one of them is because the concrete's pretty thin to begin with, and if you use a dobie, it's actually too close to the surface, which means it could get water into it from the surface and it could crack. It'll actually crack the concrete. The other problem is if it's on dobies and everybody's walking through here and you got hoses on it, it's going to get bent. So now it's uneven. So you have places that are at the surface, places that are at the dirt. So this way when it's on the ground, it stays straight and you can pull it up evenly, and then you just step in. As you can see, there's 2 feet in between the bars. So this works out really nicely this way. Now if you had 1/2 inch rebar at 1-foot centers, then you'd want dobies if it was 6 inches thick. If it was not 6 inches, you really can't get it in there and make it fit. On paper it might work, but in the real world it doesn't. First process was rotting this off or screeding it off, getting it level, going around the drains to make sure you got soap. And a lot of that's going to happen on your first pass when you get on their sliders and you have a level with you to double check to see if anything is moved from the screeding and the bull floating. Then you can do some touch-ups to make sure you're still hitting the drains. So if you notice, they bull floated this downhill the first time, and now since he's cross bull floating it, he's really finding all his ups and downs, as you can see here. That's a 4-foot wide bull float. Notice, you see all the ups and downs in it, where the bull float's not touching. This is when you gotta really start carving at it. Even sprinkling concrete back here and there. This is a 1/2 inch walking edger, or hand edger actually. 1/2 inch radius, 6 inches wide.
Sí. ¿Mande?
There's a wood hand float. Getting it flat along the edges. And you'll notice the hand edger leaving a line on the outside. It doesn't look real pretty at this point, but that's actually what you want. Because then you know you're putting your hand edger down flat. So if you're not leaving that line, you're not holding your hand edger flat. At this stage anyway, it's kind of crucial. As it gets harder, it's not that crucial, so you're not going to be able to move the concrete no matter what you do when you're edging. So, but early stages, you want to make sure that hand edger's flat. You don't want to have what they call a rolled edge. There is some benefits to a rolled edge, though. It means you're not going to have a water puddle on the edge because you've got a drastic slope in that 6-inch span. Doesn't look real pretty though, but it gets the water off quicker. So as you can see here, how much cutting you've got to do here to catch these drains at this point. That's the thing when you're working with the pea gravel and it's, you know, at a pretty high slump, it's really difficult. I mean, I'd rather do 100 yards of concrete in open space than 5 yards of a side yard with drains. That's the difference. It's easy. In other words, it's much easier to do a lot of yardage on wide open space than, you know, a little 5-yard side yard area.
Alright, so we got the other guys on the drains right now, and I'm on the smaller side, just getting this one to perfection. Gonna run down this one fairly quick. Get all the joints in. Yeah, it'll be looking pretty after that.
It's a good thing that's a vinyl fence because all that concrete splatter is going to come right off. Now if it'd been a block wall or stucco or something like that, it's kind of difficult to get it off. So fortunately they went out there early enough on their first pass off the sliders to kind of address the drainage situation, because if you had waited too long you wouldn't be able to carve those down just right. Had it been like a big rock mix going in there and you rotted it to those drains, big rock kind of stays where you put it versus the pea gravel likes to move around a lot. So you're always going to have to do that when you're using pea gravel, especially when you got drains. You're going to have to recut it almost 100% of the time. Now as they broom out, they're just troweling it and then brooming right off of the concrete. That's the easiest way to get in on these. type of broom they're using is a nylon, and it looks like they're going with like a medium bristle. Anyway, that about wraps up this perfect concrete pour. This is just the third part in this series, so make sure you stay tuned for the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, because every time we do something on this property, it gets better. Have a good one. Bye.